So what I want to talk about today is something that most of us have experienced before. And I say most, I mean everybody. Right? I know I experienced it for some period of time. And the effect that it had on pretty much everything in my life was negative. Okay? What I'm talking about here is the emotion of unexpressed potential. The way we feel mentally when we know, or maybe we don't know, but our subconscious mind knows, or our soul knows, that we are not living up to our highest standard of ourself. That there is more inside of us that we have yet been able to express and put out into the world, to create, to transfer our energy outwardly from. Now, the modern life we live in, what most people do throughout our entire existence is just survive. That is just get by, right? Maybe we're a little bit more optimistic and motivated when we're younger, and we grow up and we get older and we lose that. We lose that side that's motivated and excited for life, right? Maybe we're still, positive in certain ways and we are appreciative of what we do have. But many, and I've seen it time and time again, many of us forget that we are one with creation, that we can help bring things to fruition, that we have control. We get so used to being stuck in our life and our day-to-day and the comfortability of that uncomfortability, right? Like, you ever seen someone who hates their job, but they stay there because it's comfortable, because it's easier? I know I have, and I experienced that for some time. Right? Many people live their entire life like that, and it gets harder and harder not to. When you have a family, when you have responsibilities, it's harder, much harder, to go out on a limb and work a new job that's going to pay you less up front, or start a business that you don't even know is going to work. Right? These kind of things, these kind of decisions, these risks, they take guts, and they take like being willing to fail and not being worried about what people think about you. Right? But besides the point, my point of what I'm saying here is, like, most of us never take those risks, even in the small ways. Most of us never express that inside potential that we know somewhere deep down that we have. Our subconscious mind knows it, if nothing else. It stays inside of us. So what happens is we find something else to express it in. We find ourselves being more attracted to negative things, to things that do not help us in any way, but they make us feel good. They help us express ourselves in some sort of way. Right? Negative habits are just the frustrations of potential unexpressed. Right? Kind of butchered that, but you get the idea. When we do not express how we are, how much we have inside, our mind, our soul, our subconscious mind, our automatic mechanism, it becomes frustrated, and it finds something else to grab a hold of. Now that could be, liquor bottles, beer bottles, television, drugs, sex, many different things that give us instant, quick pleasure without much behind it, without much substance. And we attach on to those things, right? We become so used to that instant gratification of those moments. They help us forget about the pain that we are feeling constantly of our unexpressed potential. That's what we're doing. We are numbing our mind to it. Now, there's extreme cases and there's, less severe cases, right? The person who is an extreme drug addict who is on the verge of death day in and day out because of how much drugs they do, that's an extreme case. And then there's the people who, they're just addicted to television. They watch too much television to make a difference in their own life. Or they just, they drink beer every night and they don't live up to their highest potential, right? Two different sides of it, but same thing. These negative habits are frustrations of that potential that they have not found a way to express yet. Or they have shut off they shut themselves off from those ways to express. They gave up at some point because of the pain, because of the difficulty and the risk, or whatever it was that knocked them out of the game, that they allowed to knock them out of the game. On the topic of that severe case where someone is a drug addict on the verge of death, I would say that many of these people who take it to that extreme they are closer in certain ways to expressing that extreme potential than some on the less severe side. Now, why do I say that? Well, I say that because some people just go really hard at everything they do. Like, I'm one of those people. If I was to be, that's one reason why I can't drink. Because when I drink, I want to go as hard as possible. I want to drink myself into a ditch, right? I want to go hard. I want to be the best at it. And that's not something that's good to be the best at, right? Drug addicts, that it can be the same thing, right? They have so much potential inside that they really aren't that far from expressing. They just don't know how to get it out. They don't know what to put it into. They don't realize that they don't realize and see that potential, but they have enough lack of care to go out and be that drug addict and say fuck what everybody else thinks, right? Of course, drugs help with that, but if they were to channel that energy and that lack of care for what everybody else thinks into something that was actually fruitful, something that could actually create a different reality for them, who could they be? The potential is limitless. We're all limitless. You see many people on this lesser side that kind of live they live their normal life, they're functioning, and they have these, less hardcore desires or addictions than, say, the drug addict. A lot of times they're more caring of what people think. Right? A lot of times, not all the time, but they're more caring of what people think. They don't go leave that job, or they don't go get out of that situation to create a better one because of what someone else might think, or whatever else they build their constructs upon. Right? We all have this limitless potential, but so many people never figure out how to express it. They're living in survival their entire life that they never understand how creative they could be. And talk about myself for some time, or now, like, basically, I know this feels like very much so. I used to be so lost in my pursuit of who I wanted to be. I didn't know who I wanted to be. I didn't even have an idea of my future just yet. I would go through pain and I would redirect it into like an emotional reaction. I mean, I'm talking about when I was in high school and a little bit after that. And so this pain and this emotional reaction to the pain would cause me to make terrible decisions and, lead me down the road of chasing these pleasures that wasn't helping me, wasn't serving anything. But I was sure right there trying to get it. I was sure right there frustrated with what I was doing with my life in general, but I kept avoiding it. I kept going down that path of avoidance. And the amount of resentment that built up inside of me that channeled out into these potential poppers, as I like to call them, these things that I would choose to focus on, even though they had no substance in my life. They had no rightful position in my life, right? And then you develop all these habits around it, and these ways of being, and these thought patterns that foster that side of you, that keep that side relevant. And so it becomes harder and harder to break out of it. We begin to identify with that understanding of how to express ourselves, right? We're going through so much pain, so many different situations. We have to numb it. We have to numb this resentment of ourself for not expressing our potential, right? We have to numb it. Because if we didn't numb it, well, it would lead us down the path of thinking about why it is we're avoiding it. Funny enough, right? If we were to just face the pain in the present and stop avoiding it, we could figure it out. But instead, we continue to emotionally react. Those are the different paths. You either stop avoiding it, face the pain in the present, and hold yourself accountable and honest, and grow from it, or you numb it with whatever drug or substance or activity that helps you numb it, that has no plausible positive effect on you, or you face it with an emotional reaction still. And that's when people become depressed, more anxious, right? When we look at these issues and we identify with the issue itself, and we don't reflect on it in a positive, meaningful way that says, hey, why is this happening? This is my fault. How can I make it different? We start identifying with that pain. We say, well, this is just, I feel the pain, I feel the pain, I feel the pain, day in and day out. And we start identifying with that pain, and our frequency gets lower and lower and lower to the point where we don't even know who we are other than the feeling of this pain. So our unexpressed potential then transfers into that idea that I'm just meant to be as sad as I possibly can be. All this energy, all this potential that we have has to go somewhere. Our energy is constantly cycling through who we are. And if we do not understand how to express it in our own way, that's when the issues come up. That's when we do not understand what we are meant to do. We must face our issues with a positive light, with an expectation of, I can figure this out, and I must figure this out. I will no longer avoid it. I will be honest with myself, and I will be positive. I will have a expectation of a greater sense of self. I will listen to my higher self, and I will follow it wherever it leads me. By healing what's holding me back from my past, by healing my pain of right now, by reflecting on it, understanding why I got there, and adjusting what I'm going to do next time. Right? I'm not going to avoid it. I'm not going to chase this dragon of drugs and substance and activities that only hurt me to avoid it. And I'm also not going to go down a hole or fall into a hole of depression and despair that is built around the idea and the identity that I should feel like this, I should feel sad, and I cannot figure this out. I'm stuck in this hole. Please, somebody save me. Because nobody's coming to save any of us. It's up to us. It's up to us to save ourselves. It's up to us to look to God, look to the universe, look to creation, look to something greater than ourselves. Have faith in the unknown. And chase after it. Do what you got to do. Become more of that individual who is fruitful in their endeavors. Slowly, one day at a time. And stop comparing ourselves. We're not supposed to fix everything in one day. It's a lifelong journey, man. But what most people do is they live this lifelong journey of avoidance. Or of identifying with the pain. No. Choose your identity. Stop avoiding what you need to face and choose who it is you want to be. And become determined to figure that out and fulfill it with the rest of your life if it takes it. Right? Because it will. That's the beauty of it. That is the beauty of life. It is change. It is figuring out who it is we want to be and being it. You see, the reward isn't what you get after. The reward is the journey itself, my friend. No man can look outside of a story and give up on a story. So, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope something here resonated and it made sense. If it did, let me know below. If you have any questions or it makes you thought of something else, comment below. Let's talk about it. I'd love to discuss any of this with you guys. Share this with someone who needs it. Drop me a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I love you guys. Let's have an amazing day, guys. Let's just go do what we're supposed to do. Let's be who we're meant to be. Let's quit avoiding what we need to face. You got this.